Hello and welcome back to Scouching's 2022 NHL Draft Recap Series. Today we are looking at the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, the Philadelphia Flyers have made some questionable decisions over the last season or two under the new regime with Chuck Fletcher. And I think that they did pretty okay in this year's draft, but man, I mean, drafting Cutter Gauthier at 5, it's not the same, but it's the same line of thinking as like a Tyler Boucher draft pick last year. You can tell me that there are plans in place to make him XYZ, and if he does these things, he'll be a much better player. For sure. Cutter Gauthier's got size. He's got skill. He's got north-south speed, I think. When he really turns on the jets, he can go. He's got a great release on his shot, really had some impressive offensive moments, but I don't know how else I can put it. Like right now, he was objectively not one of the best players on that NTDP team when I watched him. The data across the board is just not on the same level as his own teammates. Look, I think that with the hands he's got, the finishing ability he's got, the range he's got, then yeah, I think there could be something there. But I always left myself looking for more out of Cutter Gauthier, and I was... it's one of these guys where you just, I don't know what the word is, like maybe a hype pick, where in the days and weeks leading up to the draft, there's a name that comes out of nowhere where NHL teams are floating them as, oh, maybe they're a top 15 pick, maybe they're a top 10 pick, maybe they're a top 5 pick all of a sudden. And I've never seen that out of Gauthier, honestly. In this year's draft, very quickly, it became clear that there are a lot of players that could have gone all over the place in any order. But I mean, I don't know, like Marco Kasper at 5 would have made more sense to me than Cutter Gauthier, to be honest. Liam Ogren at 5 would have made more sense than Cutter Gauthier. But again, like if you're just going to say, well, we send him to college and we want him to be a center, even though he played wing most of the year, we want him to, we think he can do these things. Great, but I did not see him doing a whole lot of those things as he is now. Can it possibly change? Absolutely. In the past, I have seen teams draft these guys higher than expected because they just wanted to get their guy. And when I look at who was on the board, there's quite a few names I would have pushed for that show more of what people are looking for out of Cutter Gauthier than Cutter Gauthier does right now. At 69, they drafted Devin Kaplan, who I have been a fan of all season long. Again, similar to a guy like Paul Ludwinski, it's like I want to see more finishing ability out of him because he's got a whole lot of the rest. He's a big power skill guy, strong dude, not the most physically intense player, but really strong on his feet, really strong through pressure, attacks defensemen one-on-one and sort of barrels through them pretty well, has some nice shiftiness and skill to him. There was a time this year where he was a late first-round pick to me, and I think he just got bumped down over and over as I watched more of him and watched other players. But he's part of this big group in the second round that I think belongs anywhere from the top end of the second round to the end. And to get him in the third round, I think is really good value. Alex Bump at 133, really nice, well-rounded high school kid. I saw him at the USHL a little bit. And again, more of the same, just very well-rounded, good north-south speed, strong on his feet, attacks the net, gets to the right places, does all the right things, and drives production doing all of those things. There's nothing that I can point to that I can go, this is what his job will be in the NHL, but he brings some nice talent to the table, and at 133, I thought it was a nice area for him to get picked up. Hunter McDonald at 165, look, 6'3", 20-year-old USHL defender, well under a point per game on multiple teams. It's a tough read for me beyond just draft big and hope, but I can see little bits where I can see where the Flyers are coming from. I think he's a strong shooter, stepping up into the offensive zone from time to time to gain chances. He's got a pretty simple game, if not really skilled or really remarkable or pacey. And if I'm drafting a 20-year-old USHL player, I'm looking for someone really sort of dominant. And I didn't really see that with McDonald. I think in time there could be a simple and effective depth player with a nice shot on the back end there for Philadelphia. But I don't know. I would set your expectations pretty low and leave them there for now. At 197, they drafted Santeri Sulku, who I had never seen before the draft. And he's a big, rangy winger with solid vision around the ice. I didn't really see a ton of pace or skill, finishing ability, creativity, manipulation. Again, this is a team drafting for size late, and I think they're hoping to build around a relatively productive player at his current level. I don't see much with Sulku, but people keep telling me over and over again that big players take longer to develop and whatever. I guess this year will be a good indication of that because a lot of teams just drafted a lot of big dudes, and we'll see if they all end up in NHL teams' bottom sixes, driving results better than some of the guys that I personally prefer. But Solku, you know, whatever. He's a guy. It's 197. What do you want? Whatever. He'll either work or he won't. But there's not much really, I think, that you can really bank on right now. But at 220, they drafted a guy who I really do like in Alexis Gendron, who is a player for Blainville-Boisbriand. He scored 30 goals in the QMJHL this year. There wasn't much of a supporting cast for him. Drove some really good data in the games that I tracked. He's a really good, hardworking north-south guy. I know that a lot of people pointed this out as a nepotism pick, but I think they might have fallen bum first into drafting a pretty decent late-round swing here. He attacks the net. He plays hard. Both ends of the ice plays hard. I would like to see it brought more defensively than offensively than what he does now. But in terms of with the puck, he's determined. He works hard. He gets to the middle of the ice pretty much every time he's carrying a puck. And there's a lot to like about Gendron. I think that there's a lot of upside there. If Blainville-Boisbriand trades him to a better team and puts him with some better line mates, then I think he could really pop off and produce in the Q this year. So for the Philadelphia Flyers, I don't know. I mean, I liked the Kaplan pickup. I kind of like the bump pickup. Gendron at 220, I think, is a great pickup. Cutter Gauthier is a massive risk at 5, though. And I mean, I would have thought about trading down from there and seeing if anybody wanted to move up. But for me, the Philadelphia Flyers get a 2F. Similar to Arizona, I think they were chasing their guys. And I think considering the draft capital they had, they did a little bit better than Arizona. Arizona had a tremendous amount of draft capital and didn't do nearly enough with it. Philadelphia did not have very much draft capital, but did decently with it in some spaces. So I think Gauthier's got upside. I think there's stuff to like with his game. You just got to be patient and really sort of push him in the right direction. Kaplan, I think, is a nice blank slate to work with and could be a good sort of third line or middle six power winger. Bump, we'll see what happens. I think there's interesting tools. Gendron, I really like personally, and probably would have drafted him as high as 133 instead of Bump, but to get both is pretty neat. So that's going to be it for the Philadelphia Flyers. Tomorrow we do the last one, and we saved the team for last, which is the St. Louis Blues. No offense to Blues fans, but not the most extraordinarily exciting draft, but the randomizer wants what the randomizer wants, and we finished with the St. Louis Blues. So we'll see you tomorrow for that one and to close out the series, and then we'll have a bonus video for you after St. Louis. So thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow.